Come on, Instagram, figure it out. Hey, look at that. And Substack's up. Okay. Hit it.
8 seconds.
Okay, 8 seconds. That's plenty. All right, let me
Not much.
fade. It's not. Hold on.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Now, live from Chicago, the Hal Sparks radio program mega worldwide.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Hal Sparks, actor, comedian, and multimedia personality.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hal Sparks.
Well,
Let's do this!
welcome to the show, everybody. It's nice to be back with Johnny Million. And Philip Bittner is fine. He's just got other plans because he's getting very popular in the media world. So we've always been trying to launch this man into greater outlets even than this show. And I know what you're saying. You're saying, Hal, but this is the greatest live stream in the history of live streams and also the greatest radio show. And I'm like, you're right. But sometimes you have to lower yourself to the masses so they can see you. It's sort of think of it as a radio populism or something. Anyways, we're all good, and we will check in with him again this Wednesday. Please pass it on in the chat room so the panic stays to a minimum. There's obviously a lot of action going on in Ukraine. We'll be covering that in the second hour, along with what's going on with Israel and Iran, which kind of like on the one hand, you know, John a Million, I feel like we spent so much of the first Trump presidency white knuckling our government that every morning you're waking up going, come on, no, what did he tweet last night? Whose rights did he destroy last night or attempt to destroy? And I will say this, that much to the chagrin of Donald Trump, our system actually holds in many ways. Khalil being released from, on bond. We got Kilmar Abrego Garcia back from El Salvador because the system, in spite of all of Donald Trump's attempts, still works. And one of our, one of the things I think we can all gather from the Trump, what's really changed over the last couple of weeks is, of course, the taco movement.
Trump always chickens out, so it's gonna be all right.
What we've learned is that, and by the way, this came as a groundswell not from the resistance or from a Democratic activist or some, group of like madmen type admin that sat around going, what can we come up with to really get under Trump's skin and his oddly orange peel-like skin? What could we do? No, it wasn't them. It was literally people that he used to view as his friends or his biggest supporters, which would be people on Wall Street, people in the business community who were tired of the volatility index going all over the place because of his tariff and then a pause and then a tariff. And then we're going to, by the way, just for the record, I might as well just call it right now. Next week sometime is the end of his 90-day pause. There's going to be another one, and part of it is because of taco. And we had another situation this week.
Maybe in 2 weeks Obama ran, and maybe in 2 weeks I'll have a whole nother health policy.
Right.
And maybe in 2 weeks.
That's right. 2 weeks. Yeah. Donald Trump shows himself to be the heavyset lady costume that Arnold Schwarzenegger wore in Total Recall. 2 weeks. That's all it can say. Right? Remember that? How long you say? 2 weeks. Where are you from? 2 weeks. Oh yeah.
Then it starts to glitch.
Yes, and essentially, that's been the argument from James Carville this week, is that nobody's paying attention to the big weird bruise on the back of Trump's hand, which is either coming from handshakes or IVs. Nobody will say. Trump kind of
hasn't that come up before?
Yeah, but it's been an ongoing thing and it's increased. And they put
there's no way he doesn't have IVs in his hand all the time. He's wearing like catheters and stuff.
Right. Well, that's the So over this last little bit, and I've said this from the beginning, that everything they say about Biden is true of Trump, and they know it. And that's what this bum rush to get him to sign all these executive orders and pump through these things is because they don't know how long this dude is going to last. And they also don't know how long he's going to maintain any kind of coherence with MAGA. So the 2-week thing.
And Fox at the gym yesterday, Fox News is all about like, when did you start to notice Biden's decline? Was it before or after the debate?
Right. And tell you what, the next time the Democrats nominate somebody who will be 80 in their second term, I'll have this great conversation about that. But right now, Donald Trump himself is swiftly approaching it's not the years, it's the mileage bridge that he is never going to uncross. And that bruise on the back of his hand is either an IV or it's easy bruising because he's got, he's got old man-itis. He's starting to decay. And again, they are rushing this stuff through. You could argue that that's the argument about this big BS bill, the budget-busting bill, I like to call it. The reason they're trying to shovel this through, they were trying to do it in his first 100 days, couldn't do it. They're trying to, he wants to recreate what the illusion that they thought that Obama rushed things through, shoved it down people's throats. That's what we heard again and again about Obama. He shoved this down his throat. This oddly sexual response that they had to everything that Obama did, when it actually took real legislation. It just took people, working in committees, doing all the boring stuff, the sausage making of government.
Yeah.
And ultimately you had, John McCain teeing it up by thumbs downing like, hey, we're not going to get rid of the ACA until you got something to replace it with, Mr. 2 weeks. And if you'll recall, one of the greatest launches of the whole 2 weeks meme was, and this is well before concepts of a healthcare plan, this, his big thing was, we've got a great, beautiful piece of healthcare plan that we're gonna solve this problem in 2 weeks. It's gonna come out, and you're all gonna be amazed. It's gonna be cheaper and better, and everything will be gold plated, and you're gonna have it's gonna be.
I can't wait. You know what? I can wait 2 weeks for that.
Yeah, who can't? You spoiled brat. You can't wait 2 weeks, and effectively that's what he's saying. The 2 week punt, has got to do with, how he was either raised or raised his kid or didn't raise his kids, or just kind of always flicked things away he wasn't interested in, or any of his buildings that went up and, forms and stuff they had to fill out. A fortnight is not a long time to kind of say, we'll have it for you in the next couple of weeks. Don't worry about it. Well, this is all going to be worked out. We're working on this other thing right now. We'll get it to you. And 2 weeks becomes like a tick, right? So this has now become pathological. And it would be one thing if it was just the big, the budget-busting bill, which I'm going to touch on in a minute because it's hit yet another snag because Donald Trump and everybody in his White House love to play the new online game show, That's Not How It Works.
Not how it works.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think I've got...
That's not how it works. No! You've got it all wrong. It's a losing game.
Okay, I've been a little crazy with the AI dumb jingles, but...
I don't hate it.
But you got to do something to pass the time during this white knuckling that we're back to doing. Now, the good news is our systems are holding. And even though Trump, has got they got an injunction filed against him for taking the National Guard for no particular reason, whether it was a real emergency, and it got reversed by an appellate court that has got some of his appointees on it. This kind of ping-ponging of the judicial system is going to go back and forth until it reaches the Supreme Court, wherein the secret weapon of the liberal deep state is waiting to shoot down everything that Donald Trump wants to do. And do I mean the liberal justices? No. I mean the secret MAGA truth social seeking missile that destroys everything good in the world, Amy Coney Barrett. The irony of all of this is that Amy Coney Barrett is the one that keeps crossing over and sort of shutting down the more extreme aspects. Because again, if you're an egomaniac and you expect everyone to behave like you order them to, that's one thing. But the problem is, if you're somebody like that, you attract other egomaniacs. And those people want a legacy. They know that their career is going to outlast yours. And if Donald Trump is done in 3 years... I see what you're
doing there. I bet I could do it better than you.
Yeah, and I want to keep doing this. Senators who want to keep getting elected, House members who intend to continue to get elected, are looking at what Trump wants them to do and knows that it's political suicide. And we'll get to his, the irony that one of the things that's driving a wedge between MAGA and the establishment Republicans who all voted for Trump and all carry his testes in their lower jaw anytime they get a chance, all of those folks are at war with each other over Medicaid expansion, which is, again, goes to something that I brought up. We got to take a break, but I want to make this point very clear, that the more power Republicans actually are responsible for, where they actually have to respond to their constituents, where they actually have to do stuff, pass laws, do infrastructure, things like that, the more they sound like Democrats. Because you don't have a choice, because Democrats are about services and the electorate. And Republicans, even though they're for, billionaire tax breaks and all that kind of stuff, if they want to keep at it, they either have to start sounding like populists or they've got to start delivering like populists. And the problem with that is that there is nothing in the infrastructure bill that Trump couldn't have passed in his first term. Not a thing. There is not a thing in there. They maybe stuff he wouldn't have wanted to do, like he doesn't care about Flint's water system, obviously. He doesn't care about lead pipes in the inner city, but he could have gotten it through. If it was added to the bill, he'd have signed it, right? But he never brought it to the floor. He never brought it up. There was no infrastructure bill. They, again, this was another 2-week punt. 2 weeks. That's the name of the game today. 2 weeks. It punted and punted. It was infrastructure week for years. Why could he not pass it? Why didn't he get that same bill passed? If he had this mandate that he said he had in the first term, if everything was going so swimmingly, if it was the best economy in the world, what better time is there to make an investment in your infrastructure, but when you're doing okay? Okay?
I think.
Right? And yet, he didn't do it. So there's really only one answer. He's not interested. He doesn't want to. Yeah. Republicans, again, their motto is, government can't do anything right, elect me and I'll prove it. And Republicans cannot argue against the existence of government or shrinking government or government is too big and then make it work well. It goes against their business model. It's an impossibility. Yeah. You will always undermine services and the functioning structure of the government if you allow these guys to get in power, because that's their only proof that they're doing their job. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. Yeah. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Break.
Yeah, we're in the bake. We're in the bake. Yes, listen to me. And hold on. There's the chat room, and there's Johnny, and there's my beverage. Right.
Hi. I like it over here.
It's good. Johnny Headroom. It's adorable. Hi, chat room. Chug it. I can't chug it. It's got niacin in it, and it will make my skin flush and be all itchy.
I heard a Full House beats a niacin flush.
What was that again? Sorry, Chicago. Devin?
25 seconds now.
Thank you. And thank you, Jeanette, and everybody. Hold on one second. I'm going to try and get my up there.
So Brian Esposito, Tamal, Jeanette. It's crazy this morning.
Thank you guys so much. Go into the studio and go into here. They're the ones who keep us from having to. They stop the ads from running.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back. So. Again, this whole 2-week punt that it's become a meme with Trump. It's become an accepted and an expected thing, even in amongst his most loyal followers. it's starting to wear a little thin. And
when I heard 2 weeks on the if we're gonna join in the Iraq War, I could not believe it.
Yes.
I was like, he's really doing 2 weeks again.
Yeah. Well, and he's not even doing it himself. Initially, he had Caroline Leavitt come out and say it on his behalf because that
always smooths things over. She knows the right tone.
Well, he was
She's
busy.
Really
you
got
know,
it down.
you know, his tea time was at 3:30, and he had to get Sean Hannity was over having lunch and a catheter change, and so the two of them, it's like a spa day for them. And I mean, Trump's the one who's spying. I guess Hannity would be the attendant in this situation, I suppose. But the purpose of everything that Trump is doing is, and let me show you this right here. This is one of the pieces of news about this. The GOP met a procedural roadblock on Friday in their quest to shutter the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. This is something they wanted to do because they care about the American people. The Senate parliamentarians said the Senate Banking Committee violated procedural rules in its effort to approve zeroing out the $6.4 billion in funding the Bureau receives each year, which is, by the way, nothing. Will not make a dent in the national debt at all. An hour of borrowing at best. And it saves as far as the return on investment for the taxpayer, it's enormous. If you're ever messed with by a bank or a credit card company or something, having the CFPB to go to, which is sort of like the Better Business Bureau with an enforcement arm, will save you. It could save your financial life.
Who's going to get the fraudulent charges more frequently? I think Trump supporters are going to.
Yeah, that's the irony. And again,
like when somebody gets hacked, because they'll click on anything.
Right. So and those folks, especially if it's like buy a Donald Trump gold catheters, MAGA, the only official one. You can get them on Truth's Sinkhole, right? They're all the ads running on Truth's Sinkhole that show his, these one-of-a-kind Trump things that he doesn't actually do, and he doesn't have the guts to sue them because they're run by other MAGAs. He just kind of behind the scenes says, "Give me a slice or cease and desist," and they go, "Okay." So the Byrd Rule, the provision effectively prohibits policy matters from being discussed during the reconciliation process. So the fact that they want to do this with just a simple majority is what they're running into, because they need 60 votes or more to do these kind of major changes. You want to get rid of a department, you want to defund these kind of things that were voted on by a majority, then you have to come up with a majority. And again, the one thing that stands out to me is not that the GOP is trying to get around, how things operate and don't understand that.
That's not how it works.
It's not because of that. It's that this is proof there is no mandate. That's what I want people
Absolutely
to.
Not.
Every time you hear this stuff where they're having to do stuff through reconciliation, or they're pushing the BBB through to try and, in the middle of the night, they removed the 72-hour rule so nobody would read it. It's 1,000 pages. It's a break of, with their rules about they were going to divide everything up into 12 different, bills and vote on them individually on their merits and save the American people $1 trillion and find all this waste, fraud, and abuse. And they looked and they didn't find any. They didn't find any. They didn't find any waste, fraud, or abuse. They just found stuff they don't like. That's not waste and abuse. That's just stuff you politically disagree with in a democracy.
A lot of goodwill programs that they don't like.
Yeah, saving too many lives that they don't think should be saved. Too many useless eaters. It is the Kissinger useless eater rule.
Playing fields.
That's right. Yeah, you can't be for that. So they're against it. So that's the primary response. But the fact that they have to do it, all of it falls under the envelope of they don't have a mandate. There is no mandate to do this. Not even, by the way, not just amongst the electorate as a whole, where, of course, Trump won, with the popular vote margin that was half of Hillary Clinton's popular vote win when he ran against her. Never mind the fact that he doesn't have a popular vote mandate or any of this. This whole idea of I won the swing states as an electoral college win when your margin of popular vote victory was lower than Hillary Clinton's is absurd. So you don't have a mandate there. It allows him to sell this mythology, but he's not even able to sell it to his own people. That's the key here, is that this week we had, Tucker Carlson coming out and saying...
That was amazing.
It came out and said...
I like wood.
And no, that's not what he said. He said...
I like wood. Deeper and longer.
No, that was the... there was another quote. Anyways.
Holy moly.
He had Ted Cruz on with him, and he and Ted had it out. And it was... And all across Magadum, a great sorrow filled the land, and a darkness came upon the fields, and the dark clouds of Gorgon the Destroyer, blotted out the sun. And these guys started arguing about how stupid Ted Cruz is and what a traitor Tucker Carlson is. And I have to say, I almost ran out of popcorn, Johnny Million. This week was a 2 popcorn bucket week. It was, and one of those big ones you get where you're like at the movie and you're like, well, it is a Tarantino film. Maybe I will get through it this time.
Yeah, you get the big hard plastic one. You're like, I'm going back for a refill.
Right, yeah. Or the one that's, the collector one that's shaped like R2-D2, and you're like, I'm going to use the cookie jar when I get home. Guilty as charged. But this, and I would like to say to everybody who's like nervous about what Trump's doing and all this stuff, and I understand that, and please don't let yourself get too worried about what Trump is doing, because that's weaponized imagination, and you're allowing him to put a bit in the mouth of your imagination and control you, and that's not how it works. You've got to recognize that there is a system in place, and if it ceases to exist, all the Republicans who allegedly are constitutional, fiscal conservative, blah, all that goes away if they lose and these rules have all been broken. And they know that Donald Trump is leading them to an area where it is very possible that if without Elon Musk flipping votes on the machines next time around, which doesn't look like it's going to happen, and without that extra influx of money, and without Donald Trump running, the idea that J.D. Vance is going to marshal the same kind of fever dream that Republicans have been under when it comes to Donald Trump, this sort of spell he has them under, is absurd. And they know it. And if you gut all these rules, the Democrat that comes in is going like, well, where do we start? National Health Care Service, everybody? Let's just do that with reconciliation and rules be damned. Let's just throw this through, right? That's one of the reasons why these guys are like, hey, tap the brakes. Then we get to, and we'll cover this after we go out into the next break, because it's a lot. Trump's kind of bum rush towards, bombing Iran, and then this alleged 2-week pullback, which I will attempt to show in the next segment is really just performative, because it will take a little under 2 weeks to position the bombers and the support staff and all that to get in place and give him the illusion, while they slow walk it, give him the illusion that he's trying to operate as a peacemaker in this situation. It is a farce, that it is already in play, and even Alex Jones is a panic about it. So, and I've got direct information from inside the CENTCOM, because I'm on speed dial with the deep state, that they're going to do this, and that Trump has already made the decision, and he's going to go through with it because he's afraid he will look weak if he doesn't do it. And Israel does.
The No More Wars president,
right?
That guy.
Yeah, And again, I've said this before, kids. You got to listen to the language of what these people actually say, and know that there's a tap dance going on every time they talk. And when they say, when Tucker Carlson says there's no evidence, or Putin even said, and Tucker Carlson's basically quoting him, that there's no evidence that Iran is trying to acquire a nuclear weapon. Well, that's a splitting of hairs between making one yourself. If you make it at home, I'm not, nobody tries to acquire a hot apple pie they make from scratch. You know what I mean? Like that's not the language, and that's playing with it, and it's intentional. The same thing is true with this No More Forever Wars. So why does something become a forever war? What makes it? Why do these things grind on? Why are they not decisively ended quickly in an enormous, in violent fashion like they want? I'll tell you, after the break. Because after this, and by the way, we're gonna raid Johnny Million's live stream after the show today. So if anybody wants to jump over to Twitch and see Johnny Million, it's Johnny Million. Think of him as the heavy metal version of the cellist on the deck of the Titanic, playing "Nearer, My God, to Thee."
Exactly who I am.
Over this next little bit, we're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I like wood.
And I think it's a forever war because contractors like making
Deeper
money.
and longer.
That is an understood common fallacy, and I get where you would come to that conclusion.
I had to beat off.
I like wood.
Sorry.
I like wood.
Well, it's,
Deeper and longer.
this is a,
Him arguing with Ted Cruz was unreal.
yeah.
Couch humping, jumping.
The J.D. Vance report.
Feel the beat, take it higher, can't retreat. Feel the rhythm, can't deny. Couch humping, reach the sky.
30 seconds, guys.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay. Let's see. Be back up in there. Thank you guys for the super chats. Thank you, Carolina, so much. And Jerry, yes, vote blue no matter who. We got about.
You're locked into the Hal Sparks radio program.
Thanks, Lisa.
Mega Worldwide.
So, there's a panic going on, and I'll give you a little slice, if I may. Here's a little taste of Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and
What percent?
predominantly Shia. Okay,
it's not even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay,
actually
I
the
am
country...
not the Tucker Carlson
By the way, I'd like to say...
Tucker is nothing if not a qualified to roll.
Yeah, right. And also, he's got a piece of paper on his lap with those details, and that's why he feels comfortable pushing back on these things.
Yeah.
And like, it's here's the thing. Like, there are merits to argue. These are serious issues, and I talk about this on my live stream. But these are serious issues. But these are fundamentally unserious people who are talking about it, and so. A lot of times people will get caught up in the back and forth of the belief systems of either of these two men. When I'm here to tell you, neither of them really care. Right now, what they are trying to do is either, in the case of Ted Cruz, salvage what's left of the right-leaning, like half of the Republican Party and keeping it from breaking off and forming some sort of Elon Musk third party. And Tucker Carlson is trying to act in defense of Putin and his sock puppets in Iran. And, you could tell because he follows this broadcast up with a bunch of posts about, if you've never, Moscow's way better than any other city in America, and it's gorgeous, and if you've never been, and by the way, never going into the rest of the country. It's like if you only went to San Francisco and palled around with like Silicon Valley investors, took Ubers everywhere, and just went to the fancy shopping and fancy restaurants and never went to the poor areas, south of the city, or never went to Appalachia in the United States and went, America's way better than any country in Africa or something like that. Just randomly picked something. When Tucker Carlson goes back and goes to the rural part of Russia, it'll be some of the most hilarious video you have ever seen, if he makes it out alive. Because as Phil will tell you, there are people running around the sort of the backwaters of Russia right now with weapons they brought back from Ukraine after they fought their limited run there to get out of prison, and now they're walking around drunk, firing their guns into apartment buildings. And one of the reasons, we have in the United States, and I want people to be abundantly clear on this. There are two things that you see when you talk about plans, and this is the kind of thing that Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson and others play on all the time. One is there are people in the CIA and the Pentagon who are tasked with making a plan for everything. During the Cold War, if you looked at, we all love war games, I think, right? One of the things in war games that you might have overlooked if you didn't pay attention was all the different ways a nuclear war could start. And in the very end of the movie, when it's all triggered, you see all those potential plans. The bombs start from here, the bombs respond from here. The bombs start from, Siberia and come in, and then we hit Moscow, and then they hit us, and the world blows up. And then it would reset and start over again. And then bombs come from Russia first, and then China joins in, and then Israel bombs, part of the Middle East, and then it explodes from there, right? And it just repeated in this cycle. If you remember that. Well, that's because that was a realistic part of the movie in terms of how they had gamed these out. That's what this computer was for, was gaming out all the potential ways that a nuclear war could start. Right. All of them. And back then, especially around that time, right before that, Mr. McKittrick, after careful consideration, I have come to the determination that your new defense system sucks. Remember that line? Okay, that was because we're talking about taking people out of the chain, because people wouldn't turn the keys or something like that, so we need to automate it. But also, we couldn't possibly fathom all the different ways that this stuff could start. So we need a computer to start parsing it out. And in that, they showed that these were all the ones that had been programmed into it, that this is, okay. So analysts in the Pentagon and CIA draft up these kind of things, okay? And they all draft them up. They draft them up, if... it becomes that economic sanctions reach a certain point and there's a false flag, and then Russia uses that as a prerequisite, or we do, or our president loses his mind and a general launches something and the Russians respond, right? These are all played out. There's like a folder for all of these things someplace in the Pentagon or the CIA or both. And think of it like the people in Mindhunter, in the BAU or the BSU, depending on how you look at it, the behavioral science unit, or the at the FBI, who go through like all the different ways a serial killer can get to the point where they're doing it, carry it out, and how you could catch them, because they have to start thinking, okay, this kind of abuse leads to this kind of behavior in the past, so we'll extrapolate this out. So all these plans sort of exist. And when in peacetime, it gets even worse because they're bored. They have nothing to do. So they're like, Johnny, here's what I need you to do. What if, work with me on this, we don't have a plan for if Taiwan goes rogue. They decide they want to be the only surviving technocracy in the world. They've got all the good chips, and they're tired of being subservient to China and the U.S., so they've been secretly building a bomb, and they launch a sneak attack on China and make it look like the U.S., and then this happens, and go write that up. Go track who's in charge, who's running their military, what their reactions might be, where their mistresses live, where they might be when this stuff goes on, Pardon me, Mr. President, but I believe he's a little bit drunk, right? Work that out and bring me a folder with that whole thing gamed out, and then put it in the file. And the dumber it is, and the more extreme it is, the more likely we are to hear about it in the public. Because the really important ones that are legit, the really, obviously this could happen, those are all kept secret. Nobody leaks those things out. But the analyst that comes home and go, what'd you do today, honey? They made me draft this stupid plan about Taiwan and Guam, and so it's never going to happen. It's a waste of time. I'm spinning my wheels here. I should be teaching, right? Those are the ones that you end up hearing about. These are the ones that get to Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and all these people. The more absurd they are, the more likely they are to be leaked. The legit ones are never going to get out because you're going to get people killed. This could actually happen. So everybody around them is a lot more protective. And so the only ones you're going to hear about from the conspiracy theorists and the other folks are the ones that have leaked out that are stupid. And so it sounds like all of them are stupid, and they aren't. And they're more likely to be that way. Now, so you'll hear, well, this is, let's see, this is Alex Jones.
Fox News is reporting that President Trump, according to White House sources, is considering using a tactical nuclear weapon on the main Iranian nuclear facility because the bunker busters might not be able to take it out. Iran's already said they'll attack our carriers, our ships, and U.S. bases if the U.S. directly strikes them. That will lead to the Strait of Hormuz being blocked by Iran, gas prices exploding, massive inflation.
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. So, again, this is, we were white-knuckling all during the original Trump term but one of the things that made people sort of feel a little better was that this idea that there were adults in the room. Now, in retrospect, there weren't. It was just that the system itself had enough bulwarks in it, had enough stops, had enough, dams against this kind of flooding that existed, that Trump was too stupid to work his way around it. This time, they have found ways. They were inspired in some ways by the Biden administration's attempts to get rid of student loan debt. They were like, okay, if this doesn't work, we'll try another way. If this doesn't work, well, let's thread it through and get as much of it done. Because Biden ended up forgiving like tons of loans for people. Anybody who was a first responder, worked as a nurse, anybody who was in the military, like anywhere they could, they were absolutely getting rid of. Anybody that even, tangentially acted as somebody that was for the betterment of society in general, got their loans forgiven as best they could. While Trump and everybody else was selling this idea that people who got their degree in gender studies or underwater basket weaving were getting their you were having to pay for their stupid left-wing liberal Marxist indoctrination, right? That was the sales pitch. And luckily, Johnny and I are completely uneducated, so we dodged that entire conversation.
I have no idea.
But when it comes to something like Iran and these things, it is fascinating to me that all the right-wing talkers are suddenly becoming constitutionalists about, well, you've got to engage the Constitution. You're not allowed to just declare war on a country. The president can't do this.
All of a sudden that matters again?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And the issue that they have is that at this point, they are all, I think, very aware of their own hypocrisy. And it grows day after day. There is a real issue with these guys confronting their own idiocy, because it's so obvious that they are willing to, jettison the Constitution when it comes to immigration. But in this case, they're suddenly like, but this letter in the Federalist Papers is capitalized. Therefore, they thought this was way more important, right? So it's fun. I got to say, it is a bit of a joy watching them wrestle with this so openly. Alex Jones, is a canary in the coal mine of the right-wing thinking on
His
this.
audio sounds amazing, by the way.
Yeah, that's from his car. Because as much as people think like he wasn't driven off the air by Sandy Hook and all that kind of stuff, there's a reason why it's called the Alex Jones Show and not InfoWars anymore. And there's a reason why he does most of his show from his car on his phone. Because it's harder to take away. This is, here's another example. This is, and here's the confusion. Let me run this for you. I mean, among other things, it's all very confusing, but.
I've had enough of the ignorance. How many times have I broken news before anybody else? How many times have I been right?
Almost never.
I told you 15 years ago I learned directly from the people that saw the evidence in CENTCOM that they've got ground sensors, let's just leave it at that are in Iran that can drive around and fly around and scoop up everything in the air and know what level of uranium enrichment and other things they're enriching, other
anything they're enriching, flour,
radioactive compounds, fissile material. And then I made calls and talked to people over the years, and they're like, yeah, how do you know that? You're not supposed to know that. So you got Netanyahu 25 years ago saying,
you better not have his keys with him because he sounds inebriated.
He's driving. He's actively driving during this clip, I would like to say, for the record.
Within 15 years ago, they got it. And now you see the CIA going, oh, Mr. President, if you go to full war with them, they'll go ahead and finish their bomb. Then Mossad said today they're 2 weeks again out. So the Iranians didn't go the route of North Korea bragging they got nukes and showing it off. They've had them for a long time. And people go, well, wait, you're now saying Israel should strike them if they got a bomb. No, that's why they shouldn't. The same reason we don't attack North Korea. We can beat them in a nuclear war, but everybody loses, and it creates a chain reaction.
Okay, so in case you missed that, Alex Jones has just said that, Trump said Iran can never have a nuclear bomb, and that's the rule, and that's his red line. And Alex Jones is saying they already have 15 of them, and that it's a secret, and that they, and again, but they won't admit it. It's super weird. This is the knot they have tied themselves in. This is where the right has found themselves. And I want, again, as crazy as this world is right now and as dangerous as these real issues are, I want you to enjoy just a little bit the idea that none of these idiots thought they would be, arguing this point with their own supporters 6 months ago. Like, imagine if you could go back in time to like December of last year and tell these guys by June there will be a civil war among MAGA about whether or not Donald Trump is going to join Israel in a war against them because he was unable to stop Ukraine, Russia, unable to change anything in Israel, Gaza, if he even wanted to. And now he's bragging about stopping a battle between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwandan militias as if he brokered a peace deal between the two countries. And everybody's like, oh, that's cool. Okay, well, the Ukraine thing with Russia, that's you know what? That was a small thing anyways. We're cool with the DRC and Rwanda, who were not at war, signing a peace deal that isn't a peace deal. And what was that? Do you know about that, Johnny? Do you know what that big win was? Okay. Donald Trump basically told the DRC that if they allow us first dibs on their rare earth minerals and cobalt and all the stuff we need for electric car batteries and the stuff like that, the EV batteries, in districts like Marjorie Taylor Greene's, where an EV battery factory is the only additional jobs that have been added since her tenure, that if we get first dibs on that, we'll provide security guarantees against the militias that are in that area that come over from Rwanda or the break-off territories of the DRC. And I don't even know if we're going to have soldiers there or if we're just going to threaten them with bombing or we're going to have drones in the area doing it. And neither does Trump. That's what it is. No. It's just security guarantees for stuff.
He wants coverage.
It's a protection racket.
The Fox News to talk about him. Yeah,
that's right. That's right. And I'm sure Stephen Miller is very happy that Rwandan militias and the DRC aren't fighting anymore, while Europeans that he actually cares about are killing each other. You know what I mean? Because again, this has been my problem with the Free Palestine folks is that, man, they are really silent on Sudan and other countries, and really quite on colonialism when it comes from Russia. Even though the death toll in Sudan is 3 times that of Gaza. So we'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. Now with 100% more, Johnny Million. Trump knows that Iran has the bomb. And that's, well, then what's 2 weeks for? So they can move them and load them and put them in position? How does that make any sense? like I mean, I don't know why I'm expecting it to make sense. I honestly,
yeah,
I am a silly person.
That was your first mistake.
Yes, I get it. There we go. I'm going to bring up something on Truth Sinkhole. Hold on. Where is he going? What the heck? Back there. Dink. Dink. Let's see. So where's the search on this thing? There you go. There you go. Profiles. There you go.
All right, come back.
Thank you.
10 seconds.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
What's the big ask happening in Trump world right now?
Yeah, and that's where I think we have to, this is the reason why President Trump received 77.3 million votes and 312 electoral votes and won with such an overwhelming show of support in the election this last fall. We have to trust in our commander-in-chief. And we saw in his first 4 years in office, President Trump kept us out of all new wars. There's an important point.
Okay, couple of things. That's Jason Miller, by the way, the guy who allegedly, I think definitely, but whatever, I don't know what the current state of that case is, put the abortion pill in a smoothie and gave it to a stripper he impregnated to try and get her to abort their child so he wouldn't have to take care of it. And Trump rehired the dude. I mean,
that sounds on brand, though.
Yeah, it does. He's part of the Lewandowski contingent, you know, push around women and get, you know, go straight to the top. But I want you to, like, look at the hedging. He kept his promise and didn't get us into any new wars. Okay. That's because he ran on getting us out of Afghanistan and never did. And as much as he lays that at the feet of Joe Biden and is like, it's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened. Well, I would argue that every day after the day that we knew there was no mission going forward in Afghanistan or Iraq, that's the most embarrassing day. And the next most embarrassing day is the one right after that. And right after that. And it just goes up until you leave. The least embarrassing day is when you finally, you know, finish this ridiculousness and get out of there. Where you literally stop making the mistake. You stop throwing good money after bad. You stop, you know, fighting or killing in an area where it's unnecessary or, you know, or wrong, frankly. So this is one of the sales pitches you will hear from the right about Donald Trump is that he didn't get us into any new war. Now, that's because they don't consider him, you know, bombing Syria or, you know, initially in his first term or any of that stuff, or the caliphate itself, which saw itself as a country, and that he didn't end ISIS. He ended the premise of their caliphate, which all the countries around there were also helping to stop because they didn't want ISIS to turn, you know, parts of their country into a chunk of their new country. That's what the caliphate was. It would absorb parts of the Levant, you know, Syria, Israel, Lebanon, Iraq, parts of Turkey, all that area. The idea was that ISIS was going to turn that into a whole new country of their own making. That's what the caliphate was. This kind of territory that they would get. Okay. And by breaking that apart, Trump says, I beat ISIS in 4 weeks. Now, again, to the point I was making about this forever wars noise. The one thing that you'll hear from the right that seems to bleed over with the left is this idea of we're not going to get involved in these, quote, forever wars. Now, when you and I, it's kind of like the two-state solution. When you and I think of the two-state solution that's, you know, in Israel or and the Palestinian territories, you and I think we think of it as like, okay, two kind of even countries where they have the right to pick their own government, they're democracies, and whoever's living in there can just live there and they can vote, and if you're You know, if you're an Israeli who sympathizes with the Palestinians and you move to Palestine, you can vote the way you want, you know, there and all that kind of stuff. And up till about 2005, that was the case. Up until Hamas took over, that's what a two-state solution meant. After 2005, the two-state solution meant no Jews at all in the West Bank or Gaza. That's what we're going for. 0 Jews. And this has been the increasing Iranian influence that everybody talks about. That Iran's whole thing is not just no more Israel, but no Jews in the area, period. And there's been a purge of Jews in all the Muslim countries, period, either through, you know, wiping them out or the, quote, self-deporting or people moving to Israel where it's safe for them to be out of these other countries. There used to be a lot of them in Iraq and in other countries, and now they've all just basically left because it's not safe. So, forever wars. Where does this forever war come from? On our end, it's like there tends to be this kind of religious wars. Getting involved in a religious war is something you can't really win because there's an unfalsifiable end to it. There is my God has to beat your God, and there's no way to get that on paper in a treaty for anyone. So these things will grind forever. And so at some point we either have to create a stalemate based around the drawn border lines we have right now, and everybody just goes to a neutral corner and worships however they want within the borders that exist. Or if they're going to fight it out, they do it on their own and it has nothing to do with anybody else. And we just try to make sure that if there's refugees that leave the area, we can get food and supplies to them. This happens all over Africa, by the way, and that's what the UN and the United States with the UN did before Donald Trump was around. And that's what USAID was focused on, was like there are areas where we're not going to make a dent in the animosity between these two groups of people. But if there's refugees that flee the area, we can make sure they don't die of starvation. And we make sure that they're inoculated and that malaria doesn't wipe them out while they wait for their country to settle down or get over it or whatever's going to end up happening. What the right means with forever wars is we're not killing enough people quickly. This focus on civilians and trying to save civilian lives is a new thing post-World War II that kind of came out of the Vietnam era and the hippies pushing back on this. And the problem we have with modern warfare is, are they going to let us win this time? What that means is, let's just kill all the bad people. If that's your army and that's your civilian base and you're on that side, everybody's a target and you all gotta go. And the idea that Obama and Clinton and other people would worry about rules of engagement that would lower the chance of civilian deaths is not just wrong-headed, it's the problem itself. And so when you hear people saying no more forever wars on the right, they don't mean don't get in any wars. They mean kill all the people we think are bad and get it over with. Don't let it drag on.
They can't write their own history books.
Right. So you can't stop trying to preserve civilian life. It drags everything out. It slows all this down. And there is no more direct proof than that, than the languaging that is coming out of Fox News right now via the White House, directly from Caroline Leavitt to the people at Fox News and to people like Charlie Kirk and others on the right that are going, he's still the peace president. He just wants to hit him hard and get out. We just need to end it, right? That's the thing, right? That's the purpose of this. So understand that when people co-opt the jargon of your side, I would first of all, it's the problem with jargon in the first place. I always have a problem with this idea that if you use the right word, suddenly you're on the team. And if you use the wrong word, suddenly you're off the team, as if the ideas themselves can fit into these bumper stickers. And we've all been lulled into this on the Democratic side of like, Republicans are great with these bumper sticker ideas and they get them up, but it's the Republicans that can't pass a bill. They're running on a CR right now. They haven't been able to get rid of the ACA. They weren't able to pass an infrastructure bill. Democrats are able to do the stuff. Where Republicans will get elected in cycles, they can't accomplish anything largely unless they bulldoze the Constitution, and even their own people are turning back against them. So don't turn your wins into a loss just because it doesn't look like the other side says a win will look. And this applies to that same language. The forever wars. Just because somebody says they're against these forever wars does not mean they are for peace and for not killing civilians. There is an assumption that comes with this that drives me insane. Every time I see somebody that thinks there's this horseshoe between the left and the right about peace, like Anna Kasparian and other people who are allegedly on the left saying this, they believe that meaning the meaning of no more forever wars is the same on both sides. It isn't. What you mean is we don't want to kill a bunch of civilians and we can't drag these things out. And the victim of a forever war is that more and more civilians have to die while there's no resolution at all. We've got to stop the fighting so we can come to sort of resolution. And what they mean is get it over with. The Gazans are a cancer. Well, that's what Trump called them. They're the problem. You have to get it over with quickly. There is no situation where you get it over with quickly that doesn't have civilian casualties. And the Republicans know this, and it's time we woke up to that fact. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. Now with 100% more, Johnny Million.
That's me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, quick pause for me here. I'll be right back.
Understood. I'll go back to me in here, and I'll bring in the chat in this situation. Thank you for that. And if you're on Substack, please feel free to restack the show. You can restack it. And on Instagram, look, I know that on Instagram, it's you guys are very thumb happy. So throw me an angry emoji if you would. Something that just shows how miffed you are. Let's see if I can do one in here. What is this? Where is it? There's this. Just scroll through here. The most popular. That's the. Maybe I only have the fire one on mine. Let's do like that. There you go. Post. Excellent. And then, what's up, Substack people? Okay, and I've also got to open up for when Johnny gets back, I need to open up my Telegram for the terribleness that is the Ukraine news. By the way, again, remind everybody, Phil is not here today, but he's fine. Bringing stuff up on here. There we go. Opening this up. How you guys doing? Netanyahu's grandpa was a Zionist preacher from the Russian Empire, and the PLO was started by the KGB. Please stop trying to unpack the present with the past. Thank you. And thank you, by the way, for muting during that, because the last time...
Oh, the sounds I made, you don't want to hear.
Oh, it's brutal. I mean, that's the report from last show. Remember that? You left the mic on? That's why you don't wear a lavalier.
That was embarrassing.
When we do our personal live streams anymore. This is hideous.
It was on my first date with old what's-her-face, too.
Oh, what's-her-face? Yeah, I remember her.
What's her name? Annie? The girl from Dumb and Dumber.
Back in 20.
Oh, Holly. Her real name or her name in the movie? Mary?
Her real name.
Okay. Her name was Mary in the thing because ultimately Lloyd was trying to have a Merry Christmas. The plot of Dumb and Dumber is a little boy wants a Merry Christmas. That's what it is. It's so stupid, but it's exactly what it is.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out on me before, but not being so charming.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
I don't care for you or for the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Damn, fuss-faced little pimp stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
Welcome back. So one of the conversations that we hear all the time, let me bring back in our friend Johnny Million in here. There he is. Is the phrase, and by the way, Philip Bittner can't join us this week, so he's totally fine, though. He just had other stuff because he's got his own show called
He's completely alive.
He's totally alive. I mean, obviously, he's still grumpy. That's a normal part of it. And Johnny's just chasing cats around, I think. Trying to get a cat out from under the... Is that what it's doing? Because they'll get in here.
David found a long-lost toy.
Oh, okay. I thought that was a
little gold sparkle ball.
Oh, nice.
And his favorite thing is to bring it into the office and just hide it.
Yep, behind some wires in the studio.
Yes.
It's always nervy when your cat plays with like near the wires, and you're like, one day they're gonna pull a Christmas Vacation, and
they're gonna get spooked and run, and
So one of the back and forths that we saw this week, besides the Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson debacle, was that a guy named Dave Smith, who allegedly was a comedian at some point, who was a regular on Joe Rogan, has suddenly come around to this idea that Trump might have been BSing him, and he now regrets his Trump vote and was caught totally off guard by the idea that Donald Trump wants to bomb Iran or side with Israel in the bombing of Iran, or apparently was unable to be the peacemaker he pledged that he would be in a matter of, an hour, one phone call, all that nonsense. And I have to say, and of course, he's now taken to wearing like Libertarian Party merch everywhere, as if like this is his way of like, I'm living up to my values all of a sudden or something. Now,
I can still be an awful person and then claim to not be aligned with Trump.
Yeah, because you'll vote for him every time, but then claim that you're doing it because freedom, hashtag freedom, right? And at the same time, you've seen this weird breakout, where the Elon Musk fight, which ended largely with he's in the Epstein files, and then like everybody like, okay, go to a neutral corner. But Trump has not spoken to him since, and he's not taking his calls. That was the end of it, ladies and gentlemen. And they're not getting back together. There's not, I've talked about this since Trump got reelected, if he indeed did, because there's a couple of lawsuits around voting that's going on around the country, which might be a wonderful surprise for the mandate crowd if that turns out to be a thing. But until then, we have to treat him as we would George W. Bush during the Iraq, during the beginning of the Iraq War. Like, yeah, technically Al Gore won by 500 votes in Florida and should be our president, but this is the guy calling the shots, and he took the oath, so that's what we're stuck with. So, as much as we'd like to put this toothpaste back in the tube, and Johnny has walked away and started dealing with cat business on me, so it happens.
Yeah,
it's okay.
I'm back. Sorry, guys.
Good. No, it happens. It's okay. I completely understand. It's why I have to have I'm considering replacing the door on my the little room I use as a studio in the house with one of those those fake shelves that looks, hides that there's a door there at all, because even the cats know what a door is. And they walk up and they do that kind of paw under the door, and I'm too much of a softy to not open the door and let them come in.
Yeah, when you see them on the other side, or then like when they're up there like batting the doorknob. Yeah.
So one of the things that that Dave Smith is throwing around is that, and this is the back and forth, and you love to see it, is that Israel, we talk about Iran having proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas, and as if Israel's not our proxy. Or, depending on how you look at it, if AIPAC really controls us, which is the Anna Kasparian talking point, along with Candace Owens, because there's very little daylight between the two of them right now, that I guess that we're a subsidiary, we're the proxy of Israel. They really control us. And this obviously falls into the blood libel of Jews control the world, and therefore cabal and Illuminati, Pentaverate, and all that kind of stuff. And so in the process of, those two sides fighting, which is hilarious, the the thing you have to recognize is, I think, is that there is no resolution to that. There is no fixing of it. In the same way that Donald Trump is not going to get smarter going forward. Not only can you not teach an old dog new tricks, but this one isn't even interested. And it's just going to get worse. Just going to get dumber. Just going to get weaker. Just going to get sicker. Just going to get older. And anybody who thinks that suddenly his plan is going to work magically they know they're selling something. I think that's the thing that I've seen shift the most in the last few weeks in the conversation, whether it's on Glenn Beck's The Blase, their network, or Daily Wire, or all these groups, or around Tucker Carlson. What I've seen repeatedly is this fallback from very bold liars or very bold salesmen saying, I believe in Donald Trump. Right? That was January, February, I would say into April. That was the storyline. Up till the split with Elon Musk and wait a minute, we're not getting $2 trillion worth of savings. We're not getting $1 trillion. We're getting $170 billion. That's an afternoon of borrowing for the Fed. So what have we done here? What is this for? Why are we starving people to save on this margin when really the debt was drawn up by an extreme circumstance? And we'll get to that after the next break too, because remind me of that, Johnny Million, like this idea that like, why are we taking on all this debt for what? What happened? All right, yeah, good Lord. But this idea that now these folks have shifted. See, every time you hold up that cat toy, Johnny Million, I think it's one of those peanut butter filled pretzels, which
that would be delicious,
right? But yeah. But when I first glanced at it,
kind of look like that.
Yeah. And I was like, my cat would absolutely bat those things around on the floor. They would use it as a toy for weeks. $8 cat toy? No, I'll just bat around a pretzel on the floor.
A pretzel.
Yeah. Buy a $800 cat tree off of, that you've been eyeing like your cat cares. Nope, cardboard box. That's all you need.
Yep.
We learned that lesson a long time ago. But in the process of these folks shifting, they have shifted from Donald Trump knows what he's doing to we've got to trust that Donald Trump knows what he's doing. And you just heard Jason Miller use that exact language. And that talking point has come from Caroline Leavitt. We've heard it directly from everybody on Newsmax.
Oh, yeah, trust him on the economy. Trust his instincts on the economy.
He's earned our trust. That language is very important because it is a direct shift from he knows what he's doing, he's a businessman, to look, we just got to trust him because I don't know what the hell is going on. And what that means is, and I want to be clear, on all of these networks, you're going to hear this pushback. I want you to watch out for that language, whether it's on Fox News and the clips you see online, or whether it's on Newsmax or OAN or RSBN or any of this stuff, that when they start telling you, we've got to trust him, they're not talking to us. They're not talking to Democrats. They're not talking to the people that listen to my show regularly or watch my show. They're talking to maggots. They are talking to right-wingers in a panic because that's who's lighting up their phone.
Off the ledge.
That's right. That's who's lighting up their phone lines right now. And it's glorious. And I want you to know that
a whole lot of I didn't vote for this.
Right. And okay. And can we settle that for once and for all? Yes, you did. Whatever you voted, if you voted for Donald Trump, you voted for all of it.
For all
of it. You voted for every stitch of it. Even the stuff that you weren't even thinking about at the time because you were in, I trust him. He loves America. He'll do everything right. And that means that you blew past him calling the people of Gaza a cancer and the problem that you have to end quickly. Him sucking up to Russia. His idea that tariffs will solve everything and get rid of the income tax. And that there were going to be, he's going to bring down the deficit by $1 trillion at least in his first year because he's going to bring in Elon Musk and Elon Musk brings in all these Doge bags who who are suddenly sifting through all of your financial data, they've got your social security number, they've got your HIPAA file.
Bags.
Yeah, they've got everything. You voted. If you voted for Trump, let me tell you something. You voted for all of this. So
that's why I voted for Obama. It's why I voted for Kamala. It's why I voted for Biden.
That's right. Because I voted against this because we could all see it coming. Even, again, because, A, there's an element of don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good that Democrats deal with all the time because that's what a big tent diverse party means. Never mind the purists and the hashtag uncommitted crowd who also voted for this by not voting against it. If you didn't vote against it, you also allowed for it. If you thought this was a coin flip, which I can't believe anybody actually would. Like anybody was like, I don't know, what's the difference between Harris and Trump?
I feel like a lot of people who say it was a coin flip just hate women.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they similar problem we ran into with Hillary. And we may be in a reality where as a Democratic Party, we can't run a woman for president. We can run a vice president, but we can't run a woman for president for the next cycle or two until evolution catches up to us. Right? That's just a reality we have to deal with. But again, anybody who voted for Trump or anybody who didn't vote or anybody who, voted for Jill Stein when they knew she had no shot or any third party, you wrote in somebody, you voted for all of this because you didn't take it seriously enough and you were like, this needs, I'm just going to let this happen. And maybe if you're being honest with yourself, it's because the border scared you. That your reaction to the border was, maybe they are eating the dogs. Maybe they are eating the cats, right? Maybe these brown people are scary, and I just don't want to say it because everybody will know how I really feel about these people. That's, maybe that's where you are. And I don't expect anybody who voted that way to admit it anytime soon. Make up something else. Let it be the tariffs. I had no idea he was going to do it. Like, use some other reason, but at least admit that you helped facilitate this. And don't do it again. Everybody talks about shame and regret. We shouldn't regret anything because it makes you who you are. No, regret can also make you who you are. Mistakes that you recognize and you fix or you are not going to repeat because you recognize they were mistakes are part of growth as a human being. It's part of adulting. And it's not even the hard part. It's hot stove time, right? You touched it, it burned you, don't touch it again. And recognize that you can go, it's the regret of being burned that keeps you from doing that again. Not how good cold might feel. Anyways, we got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. Hal Sparks Radio Program, mega worldwide. Patreon.com/Hal Sparks. And you can support us a multitude of ways. I got, that part drives me nuts. The people are like, what's the difference? What's the difference?
You wake up every morning and hear what the difference is.
Oh, my God. And this whole it's just happening to immigrants and trans people and gay people and, poor people.
Good.
Not hopefully my problem.
Hopefully no one that you love knows.
Right. But then they get to this point with, now we're getting into this forever war stuff, and that's what I really care about.
Do you?
Yeah, right. Do you?
Do you want my love?
No.
Very good cover by Ace Frehley on that one.
Yes.
I went back and listened to Trouble Walking again the other night, and it holds up.
It does. Shame he doesn't.
Arguably the last coherent thing he did.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, Damon has lost the toy in the guitar closet, which is kind of a good thing.
Stand by, coming back.
Because I know where it is, and it's like, it's those accordion doors.
Yes.
And he can't really open those.
Gotcha.
You're locked into the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Let me play a little something. Republican Senator Tom Tillis.
Time for regime change. And I believe that this president should be given a fair amount of leeway to affect that. Time for regime change.
Time for regime change. All of a sudden, Republicans everywhere starting to, their heads are going to catch fire because, the Republicans are saying precisely what Trump would be for this whole time. I don't know why I continue to be shocked, honestly, Johnny Million. I don't. You know what I mean? I don't know why, these people going, wait a second, that's not what I thought was going to happen, when that's what he said would happen.
Yeah.
He
wants to unleash the military on U.S. citizens. He wants to be Kim Jong-un.
Mm-hmm. He wants his, and again, his stupid creaky parade, while it made him a laughingstock in the world, just made him more aggravated that he's not taken seriously.
Now, that's the thing. As good as the Obama roast takedown was of him at the Correspondents' Dinner, that's the focal point of his rage that he is continuing to take out on us and him.
Mm-hmm. Right. And again, he's going to be... his ego is always on the line in these situations. It has very little to do with the actual policy. He just simply cannot, I don't know. Well, first of all, the idea that he could actually process the depth of the circumstance that this would be, Iran, and again, fall on whatever side of this argument you want to make. And I'm sure there's tons of arguments on both sides and a bunch of armchair quarterbacking that people can do, and that's exemplary in the Tucker Ted Cruz article. Even the dumbest people can articulate base points on that argument because they are there to be had. That said, none of them can figure out Trump is on their side there as far as they're concerned, no matter what side that is. He's the man. Look, if you listen to Ted Cruz, Trump agrees with him. If you listen to Tucker Carlson, Trump really agrees with him. I spoke to him last night. We agree on this, right? That's not going anywhere. They're not going to be able to remedy that. And in spite of all that, in spite of all the the back and forth about this Iran thing, and again, it is my belief that he's already made up his mind and he thinks it's going to be quick and easy, and they're already calling it this idea that we are a proxy of Israel, which is coming from a big slice of the right, and that when you the sort of make the equivocation of, well, Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis are part of Iran's proxies, but we're a proxy of Israel / they're a proxy of ours because we're allies. That there's not a difference between allies and proxies. When we know, actually, ironically enough, that Hamas, which was funded by them in documents found by the New York Times, was got their okay basically from Iran, but wanted them to, they had the minutes of this meeting that were found, and the New York Times verified them that these were legit documents from the people that they had spoke to. And in these documents, they were like, we need to get Hezbollah to strike after we do, and Iran to join in this, which is precisely what happened. Just period. Again, 1948. The Jews coming out of Egypt, the pharaohs, whatever you want to argue, that happened. And Trump and his folks, you have to understand that if you want to argue history on any of these situations in this forever war stuff, which is what the Candace Owens and the Anna Kasparians and folks want to argue back and forth about the timeless nature of this, you have to understand that doesn't matter to Trump. He's looking, he could barely see past the end of his nose in any of his decisions. If he pauses something, it's not because he's considering the depth of the importance of this issue and making sure that he makes the right decision. He's waiting for something else to trigger an obvious response. He's waiting for Iran to attack one of our facilities, or somebody else on behalf of Iran to attack our facilities, to excuse an attack on Iran, or a false flag that he can claim was Iran, if that's your poison. That will be enough. That's what he wants. He's waiting for the decision to be made for him. Until then, he's putting in flagpoles and he's going golfing. Then he's sending J.D. Vance to come to California, because if they hadn't sent the people in, we'd have all been dead.
Couch humping. Couch humping. Jumping. Feel the beat.
J.D. Vance came to L.A. to basically, survey the damage, and there wasn't any left. This myth that the city was going to burn down, that he's selling to people. My mom was talking to somebody back in Kentucky that she talked to there, and because we're going to LA next week, she and me and my son are going to take a trip into the city and whatever, and they're like, oh dear, oh thank God, I'm not going. I wouldn't go there if I was you. Like, well, trust me, we're not going anywhere near the federal building downtown, because A, there's nothing to see, and B, even if there was something to see of this, it'd be over by then because it's already over. We've got a city of 7 to 12 million people, and like whatever 11,998,000 people haven't been even bothered by the traffic caused by what happened downtown, much less involved in it.
Yeah.
But again, part of this, yes, hashtag rip LA, hashtag rip Portland. Yes, J.D. Vance single-handedly saved LA, says the chat room. Yeah, and Connie Kelly says, funny how people I know in Cali didn't even realize there were demonstrations going on. Yeah, unless you saw a news on the loop. And this is, by the way, this is coming from somebody I was there during the LA riots in the 90s. That was something. Yeah. I was at a friend's house when they broke out, and we stayed the night there for 2 days because roads were closed, and there were fires all across the place. This was a big deal. Even it broke out of, South Central and the other places it was. There were people causing trouble all through the valley and places like that. It was dangerous. This is nowhere near. This is like a 2-block area. And again, nobody goes to downtown in LA anyways. You could tell that Fox News' response to it was very much like New Yorkers. New York, Manhattan is a downtown life. Like, you look around, like that's like living downtown. Even like downtown Chicago is a minor part of the Chicagoland area. And a lot of people in the Chicagoland area kind of view downtown, in the actual city of Chicago as like almost like people in Vegas view the Strip. Like, I don't need to go down there unless I have to, right? Vast majority of the people. LA's even more of that. Like, it's not even like I avoid it because there's tourists. It's like everybody avoids it. There's nobody down there. It's largely empty, even of traffic. That's the ironic part. Name me another downtown in this country that has the population that LA does, where you can save time by driving through downtown. So for those that don't know, the 10 and the 101 basically converge around downtown, and they split diagonally across the city. So the 101, even though it is north-south, that's your odd freeways in the country, and the 10, which is east-west, that's your even. That's how you know where you are or whatever. There's this weird point in LA where you're on the 101, you're kind of going east-west for a little while, even though it's a north-south freeway because of how it moves across downtown. And if you're you're basically parallel to the 10 during part of it. And you could take the freeway down and take one of the off-ramps and get on the 10 or whichever way you're going. Or you could cut across, drive through downtown, get off the freeway, go through downtown, and get to the other freeway quicker than being on the freeway.
That's so wild.
It's crazy. Like, there is no other downtown like that in the entire country. It's sort of a shame. Like, LA, one of its housing problems could be solved if there was a rejuvenation of downtown as a living quarters as opposed to simply old empty business buildings. So, yeah, somebody's like, Hal talking about LA freeway directions. All I hear is the SNL skit, the Californians thanks out. Well, that's where that comes from. That's the part of it, is, it's a legit thing. And the idea that you could save time going between freeways on surface streets through major population areas in Los Angeles is what's absurd about the nature of a city built in an earthquake zone. That's a big part of it. But you can tell that people who are talking about it, even on the right, are used to living in even places like Houston, which is a different situation. Downtown Houston is a real downtown. Phoenix, Arizona is, if you want, there's traffic downtown, not a lot of it, but it's certainly less around the outside of it, which is not the case in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is effectively is a governmental center, and some, old-fashioned business buildings and some lofts. That's basically all that goes on down there. And a train station. Two of them, an industrial train station and a passenger train station. And there's been attempts. Yes, everybody's like, La Cienega is a great shortcut. People are jumping into this in the chat room because they know exactly, even if you visited, you know what I'm talking about. But the sales pitch has to be that Democrats run all these blue cities and these blue states, the ones that produce all the money and the goods that everybody counts on, the red states. And we'll get to that when we come back. We got to take a break. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, mega worldwide. We're right up against the break, so we got to pull it there. And we'll be back right after this. Gotta do it. Gotta do it. Have to do it. We'll be back. Yeah. Somebody's like, wait, I'm from Houston. Downtown Houston is not a downtown. Nobody goes to downtown Houston. But yeah, but there are businesses down there. It's just it's not even that big. You go down there because you work down there, but nobody in town avoids it because it's a tourist thing or avoids it because it's derelict. They just don't go if they don't have to. I've done a show several shows in Houston over the years, and Nerd Halen has played there. And it's like Cincinnati.
Stand by, coming back.
Thank you. It's not a big deal.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So, where do you go when you've lost Elon Musk? And
downtown.
Right, that's right. We're all going to downtown. And I don't just mean, Trump. I also mean the Tesla bots online, where he's arguing with his own AI about his useless attempt to cut the budget. There is there's a lot of joy to be taken in the No Kings protests. I'm very proud of everybody who came out and did those. The numbers were stunning. It did exactly what it was supposed to do, which was show everybody's distrust and disdain for this man, while also making his birthday miserable and insufferable. He apparently, I don't know if you know this, Johnny, he tore into Pete Hegseth after.
I think I did hear that.
Yes,
I'll take it.
Because the soldiers didn't look mean. They didn't look mad enough. They weren't goose stepping.
Yeah, they were kind of happy and waving from their tanks.
They were waving at Americans instead of you guys better watch yourself.
This is a parade.
Yeah. And I'm,
He's lucky they weren't throwing Tootsie Rolls.
Right. And by the way, I'm a big fan of parades. I dare I say, love a parade.
Love a parade?
Yeah. Love a parade. And not just because Chicago is the site of the greatest parade in the history of mankind, which of course was the one in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. But also, right? Who can ever forget the guy who did the gopher dance in the stands? Remember that guy? Remember the Polish sausage selling guy on the side, the street vendor? Who did the Caddyshack gopher dance? I'm a big fan. But I also I think parade should be a celebration of life and the people involved, and not a thing to remind the populace that they should be afraid. Right?
That's exactly what Trump wanted, though.
Exactly. Now, the question is, did that make him more likely or less likely to attack Iran? This is a just so you know, relative breaking news.
Depends what his drug cocktail is that day.
So what do you think the mix is? Adderall and benzos mixed together, so he's loopy and impulsive?
Yeah, and some antidiarrheals.
Does that affect your thinking? I would guess, because that's closer to his brain. Sure. Right now, and this is, again, unverifiable, but insofar as I know, but breaking news that B-2 bombers have taken off from Guam, are on their way to Guam from Missouri, which would be their stop before they go to the Middle East. And Trump is
cool. Let's go bomb the Middle East.
Right. And Trump is apparently returning to the White House for another big meeting about this stuff. See, B-2 stealth bombers under the call signs Mighty LLFLT and Mighty 21, Mighty 11 and Mighty 21, which include, estimated include 4 to 6 stealth bombers departed Whiteman Air Force Base. And that are they are currently en route to Guam, now approaching Hawaiian airspace, supported by USAF aerial refueling tankers. So they travel this whole distance and then they refuel in the air, so they never have to land. Well, that's the idea, is that they, during these areas, they have to clear, with friendly nations. They got to let them know they're flying over so they don't get nervous. Or they're flying through certain areas and they got to go, hey, guys, don't worry about it. These are our guys. But once they fly over the bad guy country, they stop telling you where they are. That you might know that they're nearby, but that's the last time you're going to hear about them. They're going to fly from base to base. You're allowed to know that. But once they're there, and that's part of I think, the strategy, in theory, is that if you're going to threaten people with them, moving them closer like a game of Risk, I'm positioning my soldiers. This is what happened with, and to some degree, maybe Trump is, flexing his inner Putin. But leading up to the Ukraine war, Putin moved his troops to the border multiple times and then moved them back with the idea like, this is just posturing. And then Biden and his team recognized that once they moved the medics in, this was okay. This is a sign they're actually coming. You don't run those guys in unless you're ready to go. And that's exactly what happened. That's sort of basically how they knew of the timing of this. This is when everybody was like, it's not happening. And they're like, yes, it is. Even Zelensky was like, we think they're just bluffing. And they're like, nope. They've got the ambulances. They've got the medic teams. They're ready to go. They're stocked up and ready to go. And by the way, with, blood and medical supplies for war that will spoil or run out. Like, you can't just keep it, right? This is stuff that you use up when you take it out of its storage and when you process it and you take it from your hospitals, whatever. And you're like, this is going to happen, and you're prepping for it. If you just let it sit there, for a week, it will become useless. So that's expensive and it's a waste of time. That's why increasingly that's how we know this position. Meanwhile, at this point, we in theory, we know that there are 6 B-2A stealth bombers that have departed from Missouri, accompanied by 8 KC-135 tankers. They're believed to be, they're headed to Guam. They've passed Hawaii. These are the planes that would drop the bunker busters, and or tactical nukes, which is what Alex Jones says. And this is one of those things where Trump will sell it as, well, I'm a negotiator and they've got to know I'm serious. Or it's just the decision has already been made. But this is, this is reality. And this is something that Republicans don't do very well. They don't do reality very well at all. And again, this all bridges on the fact that most Republican press conferences are about posturing, not real policy. Yeah, I agree, buddy. So there is.
I'm asking him to lie down.
This is.
You gotta stop.
I understand. You're not going to do it. Just let him be. It's a cat. Let cats be cat, Johnny Million. This is otherwise there will never be peace. I gotta
let him cat.
There will. Yes, right. I think that's.
I'm really looking for a 2-state cat solution.
Right. Well, I think there should be a let him cat, as or let her cat is a shirt you need to sell on your
Let
store.
him cat. Oh, I did buy the buy a King's X record shirt.
Nice. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's cool.
I think it said it'll take like 4 to 6 weeks to get here because they still got to make them.
Yeah. It's not actually faster than that, but they're great. But what I do want to show everybody, and I'm going to put this up online, is while all this stuff is going on with, the ratcheting up of this and this very, very profoundly dangerous wag the dog situation we feel, that we find ourselves in terms of Iran and the possibility of what could happen there. What I think a lot of us, in the reality of the circumstance, because Israel did do this attack on their own, this is not something, I don't even think Trump is thinking ahead enough to create a wag the dog. I think his wag the dog is on American soil. I think he feels completely safe by putting National Guard and Marine troops in American cities. That's his wag the dog. That's his distraction from his own problem. And I would argue that his distraction from the Epstein list issue and, and again, not from us, not from Democrats. Johnny Million.
I cannot let him cat because he'll hurt himself.
I know you are hurting cats today, quite literally. The irony.
I'm literally hurting cats.
Yeah. Is that while this... I'm so glad we
gotta lock him out. I'm sorry, dude.
I know. But hey, that's why I shut the door to my office. It is a thing. It's a real thing. It's it's something, and especially when they're so adorable and they want to, they want attention.
And we came home late last night, and so they have like a weird sleep schedule. This is normally like big napping time for them.
Right. Yeah. And you guys wrecked it. It's your fault.
We wrecked it.
So this right now, I'm showing an image on online right now, which is the Pam Bondi in action figure, which is one of these like AI created action figure things that you can make.
That's amazing.
And it says it's on my desk, which is a reference to the Epstein files. It's a reference to the Epstein evidence. That's what that is. That is a direct reference. Now, it was not a liberal that made this. It was not Ed Krasenstein or a Democrat on X or on Blue Sky that made this and went on Grok and cranked this out. This is a right-winger who did this. And you got to let that, if you're going to let something sink in, this is a good one. They spent time. I've made a bunch of AI stuff, and it takes work, more work than you might think to make it actually fit what you want to do and stuff. There's you waste a lot of credits. It's like playing a video game that's hard to beat, and you're dumping quarters into the thing to try and finally beat one big boss. That's what AI is like when you're trying to make something along these lines. And it can be a pain, right? So I want you to understand the effort put in by whoever did this. That's a Trump voter. A true believer.
What?
Yeah. A true believer made this thing, this Pam Bondi in action figure. It's on my desk with her sitting there with stacks of Epstein files allegedly on her desk. And right now there was an old, wag the dog when it came, when the concept was really played out under Clinton. And you could argue that it really happened under Bush 1 when he was allegedly having an affair. I don't know this is true, but that the original Iraq War was to distract from this news story that was going to come out and his ties to the Iran-Contra affair. Yeah, true. That one of the things that they talked about was the fact that, Bush 1 might have been having an affair, so he was doing this. Meanwhile, that was to distract, under Clinton especially, that they were afraid he was going to do a wag the dog to distract from the Lewinsky affair with the entire electorate. And it is one thing to do that with the, because, it's the office of the presidency or you're a senator, and you're pushing for something and you're trying to draw attention away from some big thing because you've got actual power and you need to exercise that power to draw attention away from this big scandal, right? You're Menendez, you've got gold bars in your closet and $100 bills in all your suit pockets and your, in this little bank called your closet, right? And you got to start, making big, bold statements and calling people out and, drawing attention. Like they're only coming after me. Like the rusty trombone, Russell Brand coming out and saying, the deep state is coming after me and they're trying to shut me down because he's got open rape cases in 2 different countries 4 charges against him in Los Angeles and 4 in London. So to draw attention away from that, you got to come out and say something big, like, you know, the deep state wants to destroy all life on Earth or whatever. This is the way you get around it. And so the wag the dog idea with the general public, to try and hide behind the general public, is a tried and true methodology we all are aware of. This is, I think, the first time where the wag the dog is all about, because Trump only cares about his base anyways. The wag the dog is to protect him from his own base. Because I got to tell you, when they were after Clinton, we were all like, ew, or I guess this is between him and Hillary, and I kind of don't care, or you know, or keep it in your pants, or you should be ashamed of yourself for doing this stuff in the Oval Office, but kind of like shrugged it off because the general public was like, and it was the 90s, for crying out loud. It's not the 50s. There's a difference, right? And so we were kind of okay with it. But at this point, think about this. Maggots have literally been okay with the idea that Donald Trump is an adjudicated rapist. E. Jean Carroll's book is coming out about her experience with this idiot and dealing with him both when he attacked her and the charges against him and all the stuff he filed and all the stuff that she got in Discovery and all this. It's going to be a fascinating book. I would love to have her on the show at some point. I'm just saying.
And they really, his followers do not understand that he really was convicted just because he wasn't sentenced.
Right. Yes.
He was convicted. Mm-hmm. Court of law stuff.
And so this is the first time I've ever seen like a true wag the dog that only has to do with not only your party, but half of your party. This is because the Epstein stuff, the Epstein train left the station last year when somehow the Kash Patels and the Dan Bonholios of the world and they were all able to, and the Fox and Friends ignoring the fact that Trump said he wasn't going to release these files. That train, like, we're going to get them day one. It's finally going to come out. We're going to catch this because the QAnon crowd amongst the maggots are very serious about this. This is a big deal. This is like their raison d'etre politically. We've got to end this child trafficking, and Epstein was behind it all, and all of his powerful friends helped run this. And this is the linchpin, that all the files about him, that train left the station. And then another train left the station where Donald Trump was friends with that guy for 25 years and never had a problem with his behavior ever. Didn't end up breaking it off with friends with him except over a real estate deal, over a piece of property that Donald Trump sold to a Russian for $90 million that the dude bulldozed. It was a quick flip that he knew he was going to do, and it cost him $10 million more than it would have if Epstein hadn't been vying against him in the same bid. And so he was mad at him for costing him $10 million. That was it. And I got news for you. They got over it. There's phone logs of him talking to him after that thing when they supposedly never talked again, after Epstein was arrested. So that train left the station last year, about the same time. That train of reality has been on the same track. And they are headed towards each other. There's no way to divert these trains. They are headed for a head-on collision. And this is but one of 3 major conflicts because Trump ran as Santa and has to rule as the Grinch.
Yeah.
There is no way to square this circle. There is no way to stop, divert one of these trains. They are headed for each other and they're going to hit. And even his attempts to distract from these things are starting to stink in the MAGA world. And there will, if we all survive this, and there isn't, some sort of like breakout war or a follow-up, version of 9/11 and the like, the hilarity of watching MAGA finally wake up to the multitude of lies about tariffs, about his relationship with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, about his businesses, about his financial backing by everybody from the Russians to the Saudis, his deal with the Saudis, the Live Golf tournament, and all this kind of stuff, his crypto grift, all that. These are all trains headed down their own track, headed for their competing concept, and they will not diverge. They will all hit. It's just about time. It's a matter of time. And Trump knows this. That's why the rush for the big budget-busting bill. That's why the rush to solve all these things beforehand. That's why even the maggots around him are are doing this so swiftly. We got to do this quickly because by the time they wake up, we're in trouble. We're going to be in real trouble because we don't really have a mandate. That's always been a lie, and it's just going to get worse. And so what we've got to do is keep it up. No King's protests and showing up for these things and speaking out. And if you're going to protest, show your face. Stand up for
I think
what
we
you
have
believe.
to break.
We do. We have to take a break right now. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide, with 100% more at Johnny Million.
Yeah.
So does Hal think we should go to war with Iran like Chuck Schumer? No. I don't know that Chuck Schumer thinks we should go to war with Iran. I think he might view them as a real threat with a nuclear bomb, and that's his concern, which is a legit concern. That doesn't mean that's how you solve it.
Back in 10 seconds.
Thank you. It's a great it's a great point of conversation, though. Because I got news for you. Well, I'll save it for that.
I am happy, you are happy. Let us be happy together, whether the weather is cloudy or sunny. I will always be your funny honey bunny. I am lucky, you are lucky. Let us get lucky together, whether the weather is cloudy or breezy. I'll be there to say, hey, come on, let's take it easy. Because isn't it nice to have the friends that you do? And isn't it nice that the sky is so blue? And isn't it nice to say I love you, chugga chugga choo choo, woo woo. I am smiling, you are smiling. Let us smile together, whether the weather is cloudy or stormy. I will still be there in the morning. I'll be right by your side in the morning. I'll make you breakfast in the morning. I hope that you like cereal.
Yay!
You missed it. If you're not watching online, you missed the Johnny tempting me with a cat
toy frolic.
Had he known all this time, I gotta say, I try so hard with the happy ending to not have it be based on Schadenfreude. I really want it to be just standalone good news. And there are a bunch of things. AI is helping with radiology to the point where it can spot cancer way earlier than even the best radiologist in the world could. And people are at least, that's something where like the idea that the average person in a hospital in Indiana would have access to the greatest radiologist that works in our medical system at any time is an amazing step forward. Okay, as much as people are worried about AI making crap TV shows or ads that drive you crazy or whatever. And by the way, the best thing AI has created visually right now, I think, is largely the Bigfoot vlogs. And Johnny Million, if you have not seen those,
I've heard about AI Bigfoot. I've not seen it though.
It's a good time. You'll like it. But the point is that the availability of those things and kind of like making high-level creativity available to the average person, the democratization of special effects and production is a great thing. So, but I have to say my favorite story of this week is not. It's been really hard, and I don't know if you have one. So I will defer to you in this. In this situation, Johnny.
I like wood.
It's not the Tucker Carlson
deeper and longer
Ted Cruz fight. It's not Donald Trump's ridiculous flagpole exercise and the fact that the Russians made fun of him on television all night long about his flagpoles. And you can infer from the fact that that they're Russians and it's a pole related situation, the kind of jokes they were making about him as a man from that, which is pretty hilarious, right? But I think my favorite one of the week, and this is going to be a tough one, is that Elon Musk has accused a major Trump aide of a federal crime as they have continued the fight. So as the spat between, I don't know if you know this. Okay, so there's a guy, Sergio Gore is this guy who's the director of the presidential personnel office. And he's the guy who allegedly, because he was having a spat with Elon Musk, kicked his NASA guy to the curb. The idea that Trump picked somebody over somebody else because Besant wanted or something, it was a lot more petty than that. That these, inter-office fights, this is almost as good as the Hegseth can't find anybody to be his chief of staff because no one wants to ruin their career. It's very close to that. So this guy, Sergio Gore, is the director. He's allegedly one that kicked to the curb. And Musk described him as a snake and said that he is committing a federal crime. He goes, he deliberately lied about where he was born on federal forms. That's a serious crime. I guess birtherism has come home to roost. That's, I guess, I don't know what to tell you. It couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Yes, that's right. Birtherism is being used against someone in Trump's own orbit. A guy that, by the way, so far, Trump is standing by. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, it's because this guy, Igor, a Ukrainian-born American race car driver named Igor Sushko, has accused Gore of being, spelled G-O-R, no E, of being a Russian spy. That he was that he lied about where he was born. He says he's from Malta, but he was actually born in Russia, and he lied on federal forms about this. And the idea is that, wait for it, Elon Musk says there's a Russian spy in the White House. You don't say. All right.
All of a sudden.
Yeah, right. And apparently, this was not a point of concern until this rift. And the idea that somehow, like, there's been a draw between Trump and Musk, instead of Musk has just found a way to undercut Trump by going after the people around him who are either carrying out his orders or really the people behind him in the first place. Because that's the Project 2025 idea, is that Trump isn't actually doing any of these things. This is, like I said, everything they said about Biden, true of Trump. Just for the record. And so the idea that he's just rubber stamping or auto penning, but he's basically live auto penning pages of Project 2025. We've seen him do it. He holds up these papers like it's a diaper that he's proud of, making a boom boom in, and then he goes golfing.
Boom, boom.
And the people in his office have to tell him, well, here's what you're signing. Right.
And that's why they freak out about the auto pen on Fox News about what Biden did with it.
That's right. And I would like to say, for the record, anybody who brings up auto pen has to be forced to ask anybody from the Trump White House, including Caroline Leavitt, did Donald Trump hand sign all of the pardons for all 1,600 people that he pardoned from Jan 6? He hand signed all those. Because he said he was going to vet all these people. Now, they have since, by the way, a Jan 6er has been sentenced to, well, I don't know if they've sentenced him yet, but let's see. This is, I'll find the person, but one of the guys who he pardoned is going to jail for a very long time. And let me look. I want to find the actual story. So this guy trial with lawsuit against James. So the guy's name was, and I want to make sure I have it right, Edward Kelly, from 35-year-old East Tennessee native, convicted of conspiring to murder FBI agents and other officials who investigated his role in the Jan 6 Capitol riots. Kelly was separately convicted of throwing a Capitol cop to the ground. This is what Trump pardoned him for, was attacking a police officer. And since then, after Trump pardoned him, he plotted to kill FBI agents who got him convicted for attacking a Capitol officer, a police officer, on video. This is not a situation where somebody was like, these guys ruined my life. These rogue deep state FBI agents stole my freedom, right? This dude is filmed himself doing this. That's the other thing about all the Jan 6ers is that. So anytime somebody brings up AutoPen, the follow-up question in the press must only be, did Donald Trump hand sign all the Jan 6 pardons? Can we see copies of them? Because there's no way he did. And Trump is making this point of like hand signing all of these pages, these executive orders, but nobody thinks that Biden auto-penned his executive orders. And, it's like at some point, Trump is going to claim that he signs every dollar bill that was printed during his presidency. You know what I mean? Where they've got the president's signature on them because they have to, right? He's going to claim that he hand wrote all of those. But this guy, Edward Kelly, no relation to Edward Kimberly, the character that that Dustin Hoffman plays in Tootsie, in the I'm Edward Kimberly, the bastard son of my sister Edna, or whatever. Yeah, the best part of myself. Kelly was convicted of throwing a Capitol cop to the ground with the help of others, smashing a window with a piece of wood. However, those charges were wiped away by the president's sweeping pardon of the so-called Jan 6ers in January. By the way, for those wondering, here's a picture of the guy breaking the window with a piece of wood. I'm showing it online. He with a group of people attacked cops. Again, they were all filming it themselves. Trump generically pardoned this dude, this idea that he vetted all of them and they did it very carefully. And now this dude has been, are asking a judge to sentence him to a lifetime behind bars because he was convicted in November of conspiring to murder FBI agents and other officials who investigated his role in Jan 6 Capitol riots. And why did he need to be investigated, ladies and gentlemen? Because he was wearing a mask. He was wearing a painter's ventilation mask during that. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. I'm going to throw it to Johnny Million on Twitch after this. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's Hal Sparks, Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, share everybody on here, and support our the ads that we have on the broadcasters any way you can. We'll see you next time. I ran out of time. Thank you, Chicago.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. This dude right here. This dude right here, there's a picture of him wearing his mask. This is him smashing a window. That's Edward Kimberly, the bastard. No, it's Edward Kelly, who was convicted in a court of law of conspiring to kill FBI agents.
Better let him out.
And under Kash Patel, they are asking for a lifetime sentence because they know he's nuts and Trump should have never pardoned him, but they did it anyways.
Yeah.
By the way, Johnny's going to be playing his 12-string Doug Pinnick bass.
Yes, I am.
On this thing, which is fantastic, man. And then I've got to go practice 100,000 Years because I got to play and sing it on Tuesday.
Oh, that's hard.
And I got it. I'm good. I got it down. It's actually not as hard as you think. It's you do it's a repetitive riff. So you just have to, as long as you land the first syllable of the line. That sounds really great, by the way. I almost feel like I should bring my 12-string and do it that way as well. And then open it with the Gene Simmons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna let you set
I'm
up.
gonna switch over.
Switch over, and then
Thank
I'll
you.
set you up, and we're gonna raid Johnny Million, everybody, and I'll just jump over with the chat in this situation. Hold on, let me find you guys. There you are, and you're safe. You can buzz off, and I'll let you go. There you go. Boink. All right, I'm cutting Johnny out there, and then I'll jump over there. Thank you guys so much for your support today. Everybody who super chatted. Thank you, Michael and Pablo and Marcia. Thank you, David and Independent for being members. Treva, the word of the admin is specious. Sure. Yeah. I don't know that they, I think they could contemplate it. Let's not forget a little U.S. history. The CIA in 53 assisted in a coup to topple elected prime minister in Iran and installed the Shah of Iran until 1970. People of Iran overthrow the Shah. Yeah, except MI6. Again, we just sided with our ally at the time, post-World War II. It wasn't that we jumped in and did this or whatever. Like that gets played up a lot. Carolina, thank you so much for the Starbucks for the family. It will come in handy. Malcolm explained how Russian generals get to keep the money not spent on maintenance. Based on that, I bet Russia's nukes would never make it out of their slots. No question. I've said this before. Not only do I think they don't keep their stuff up, their shit up, now I'm not on the radio, they don't keep their stuff up enough to trust that it would function, but even worse than that, I think after 91, if you were Putin, would you trust that we didn't put malware in your control system? Right? Hold on, let me find. Johnny's not up yet, so I think on here. Wait, hold on. Let's see. It's Johnny Million. Is that what is? I don't know why that didn't come up. Maybe it's J Million. Is that what he has? I'm following him, so it should come up in a second. Hold on. Start this again. I'm trying to do a decent raid of him. Let me know when he's up. It doesn't say following on any of these things right now. So, Andre, do you have the link for Johnny's thing? I don't know why it's not coming up in my stuff. We'll bring this out in just 1 second. And chat room. Anyways, question. Thank you very much. Oh wait, he might be in there now. Let's see. Let's see. Nope. Similar size. He's not up yet. Working on it. Working on it. Why am I... Oh, why in this picture am I relatively see-through? My shirt's not even green. What is happening? Why do I have to do this? It's like... It's so aggravating, don't you know? I've got to fix this. I'll fix it over here. It might just be flickering. Could be a thing. Whoops. There we go. Grab it like this. Go to the chroma key. Fix this. Take the similarity down. There you go. That's better. That fixed it. Hey, look at that. I know, and my Venmo is hidden in this one. I know. I just can't do the hard sell all the time, guys. I just can't do it. It's too much. Dr. Thomas, thank you for becoming a jalapeno. Ruben, thank you for being a member for 48 months. That's so awesome. Don't forget, Super Chat's a great way to support the show. I'm going to reload this page, see if Johnny Million's in there yet. As soon as he starts up, I know it'll pop into my thing. Ah, there we go. Following. And Johnny the Million. Okay, cool. I'm going to start the raid right now. So everybody on Twitch will be able to go over there. You can also go to It's Johnny Million on YouTube. Have we figured out? Thank you for that. Yeah, that's what I typed in, but he didn't do it for some reason. We'll figure it out. Anyways, so we'll do this. Hold on. Following. There we go. We're doing the raid. Here we go. And we'll start the raid. I'm clicking through there again. All right, we're almost ready to go. It's going to jump over. Power-ups. Excellent. Do this. And it's my 7-month sub anniversary on Johnny's thing. Okay. Oh, and most people are already over. Oh, oh, I see. Did CSLG already do it? Oh, thank you. You're good that way. I'm sending 13 other people over there. Good. Hello, motherfucker. There's Johnny playing in the background. So I'll let you guys enjoy that. I'm going to go feed the fam. Appreciate you guys. And don't forget, Boston Brian and Philip Ittner have shows tomorrow. So please check them out. Send my love to Boston Brian. Might jump on there with him to talk about some of this stuff, especially the Iran stuff, because World War II being what it is, bell maps, all that kind of stuff, would be a great conversation, and especially the Soviet Union's hand in all of this, which plays a big part of it, and always gets left out of the conversation of the Shah conversation, which is important. You know, you can't extract it. How about all those guys from Jan 6 are such nice guys? I know. That's what I'm saying. Only the best people. Hashtag the best people. So hooray for Jen Fay Muppet. Absolutely. All right. Much love to you guys. I'll see you later. Hold on. I want to make sure that I've said proper love to everybody. Oh, and yeah. Hey, Jen Fay says, want a bit more Hal? I posted some Nerd Halen performance videos from the last November in Chicago on my YouTube page. Slow to share, but I'm just... Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Jen Fay Muppet. Appreciate it. Make sure you hashtag me and Nerd Halen and all that, because I know Caleb will want to see them. All right, and hopefully they're on the better side of my performances. My vocals, I hit a rough spot because I screwed up my vocals for a little bit, and it was hard to find my way back to it. But now I've healed it for the time being. We'll see. So, and I've got a lot of singing to do on Tuesday. It's going to be a good one. If you're in the LA area, and you're not busy rioting and burning the place to the ground, obviously, and you're not, if you're not couch humping, join me. All right. See you guys next time. Thank you so much. Hit the like, share the show. You can make clips on Twitch and share them out. Thank you guys so much. Subscribe, will ya? Subscribe!
Lose control, feel the fire. Oh yeah. Groupie steps, take it higher. Round and round, won't let go. Get wet wild, let it show. Clap your hands.
reach this guy. Gonna be out of time because there's a delay.
Move it back, move it forward. Ooh, yeah. Slide it low, hit the floor. Dip it right, feel the groove.
Merci beaucoup, Temples and the Rat.
Let's make it move. Side to side.
That bear is a veritable smorgasbord.